Good evening, and everybody hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
I'll speak up and try to get both audiences, but I'll repeat stuff to the folks that are here once I talk to the folks on the screen real quick. So welcome everyone to the first open house for the Fleming Road Area Plan. Tonight we're hosting a virtual meeting, but also with an in-person satellite option. So I'm currently at the Guilford United Methodist Church, and we'll be working with folks here on site. Tonight, we're going to be presenting summary information about the conditions and trends in the area, followed by an interactive conversation based around your questions and the ideas, issues, and priorities. Thanks everybody for participating and helping shape the future of this area. Jeff or Francie, if you could move to the next slide. There we go. Thank you. A little housekeeping first. Please use the chat box if you have any questions or comments during the meeting. We'll try to answer as many of your questions as we can during the meeting, and following the meeting, we'll post a list of all the questions and answers to our project website, and we'll email everybody to let you know when that's ready. We have also put a link to the project website on this slide and in the chat. From there, you can visit the interactive comment map where you can submit additional feedback and ideas. We will remind you of the opportunities and share these links again at the end of the meeting. A recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the project website so you can share with those who are unable to join or revisit anything that we talked about. There we go. I'd also like to thank and welcome council members tonight, Tammy Thurm and Nancy Hoffman, who are here on site, and I very much appreciate them being here. I did not see anybody else from council in the Zoom, but it's very difficult to see, so I apologize if I missed anyone else who was here to participate, but we thank them very much for their willingness to be here. The agenda for this evening, once we get through the introductions, talk about the context for the plan, why we're doing the plan, what that means exactly. We'll talk about the current conditions that we've seen from doing our background data research, as well as some from initial conversations. We have an exercise where we're going to do some interactive polling with your cell phones. If that does not go exactly right with your phone, we can probably get information from you later, so that's okay, but it should be a fun exercise. Then we'll do some breakout room discussions and come back and discuss the answers we have to a few questions to begin our process. After that, we'll go over next steps. We're going to try our best to get everybody out by 7:30, so please stick around so you can hear those follow-up conversations. So let me introduce the staff that's here tonight. If I can go to my screen to work. There we go. My name is Russ Clegg. I work in the Long Range and Strategic Planning Division of the Planning Department. Jeff Sovich is here. He's our senior planner. He is leading up this project from the city side. Carrie Hobson is also here. She's assisting with the project on the city side. We're working with Tesca and Associates, who have helped us with numerous projects in Greensboro, and Lee Brown and Francie Lawrence are helping from the Tesca side. We have several other city staff and attendants that may be able to answer questions that come up about particular issues. From transportation, we have Carrie Reeves and Denise Conway. From Parks and Recreation, we have Shauna Tillery. Nathaniel Moore is here from Field Operations. Ray Johnson from Water Resources. And we have Renee Sigmund from Police and Cindy Blue from Neighborhood Development. So at this point, I'm going to turn the process over to Jeff Sovich, who's going to talk a little bit about the context for our plan.
Okay, thank you, Russ. First off, I think it's important to point out that the draft study area, as depicted on the map on this slide, is just that, a draft that represents our initial attempt to get a handle on an area with unique characteristics that differentiate it from its surroundings. The shape of this study area is absolutely open to revision and refinement based on your input. So feel free to include that when giving your comments or have questions, or that's not a topic that's off limits for discussion. And moving on, the planning department has begun this planning effort in order to collaborate with residents, property owners, and other stakeholders in identifying and thinking proactively about the needs, concerns, opportunities, and limitations in this area. We expect that through a series of community conversations, beginning with tonight's meeting, a shared vision and set of values will emerge as a basis for recommendations to preserve and improve the Fleming Road area. The outcome of this process is anticipated to be a strategic plan with goals, strategies, and actions that will help guide future decision-making. This is not the only opportunity to participate or be heard in this process. More will be happening soon, and we will keep you posted as those opportunities develop. So, having a plan helps create opportunities for you, the residents, property owners, business operators, and others to shape the characteristics and physical features that affect environmental conditions and quality of life in this area. Developing a plan is a way for the city to engage with members of this area in a proactive way before market forces produce unanticipated changes or undesirable development patterns. To provide some background and context about this area, here's what the arrangement of existing land uses looks like right now. This area is primarily single-family residential with some pockets of multifamily residential. Much of the northern portion of the area is wooded, parkland, or open space, and there is commercial development in limited and small separated areas of the area. Looking at the broader context, some of you may be aware that in 2020, Greensboro adopted its new comprehensive plan, GSO 2040. The Fleming Road area planning process supports, updates, and advances the existing policy framework of GSO 2040 within this area. GSO 2040 establishes 6 big ideas as overarching themes in the city's efforts to promote quality growth. Filling in our framework describes our land use and development, how the patterns of buildings, roads, and other man-made parts of the city can create a more vibrant and livable Greensboro. This big idea focuses on how we arrange our land uses for where we live, work, attend school, shop, and enjoy our free time. Creating great places describes the creation of interesting, attractive places and vibrant public spaces in neighborhoods across Greensboro, in downtown, and with our historic resources. Becoming car optional describes our aim to expand quality transportation options beyond cars and maintain an efficient transportation system that allows people and goods to travel throughout Greensboro. This big idea focuses on lessening our dependence on cars and reducing the pressure to have multiple cars per household. Prioritizing sustainability describes our leadership role in environmental stewardship, social equity, and a resilient economy. This big idea focuses on protecting our natural resources, ensuring that residents live in a healthy environment with equitable access to public services and a voice in governance, while also making Greensboro's economy resilient to changes at the regional, national, and global scale. Building community connections describes our quality of life, the culture, arts, and places that make Greensboro unique and memorable, and the ties that bind us together as a community. This big idea includes strategies to improve livability, strengthen neighborhoods, increases our public safety, expand housing affordability, and build Greensboro's identity as a university city. And growing economic competitiveness describes building a prosperous, resilient economy that creates equitable opportunities to succeed. This big idea includes strategies designed to strengthen our economy through job creation and attraction, diversification of our local economy, and building a steady and growing tax base. An integral part of the policy framework of GSO 2040 are two maps. The first is the future land use map, and the other is the future built form map. Shown here is the future land use map, which designates at a very broad scale the preferred future land use types throughout the city, as well as the entire water and sewer service area. The future land use map designates areas for residential, commercial, industrial, mixed use, airport, and reserve. These future land use designations are not intended to be fine-tuned or exclusive. It's assumed that there will be some variety of uses in each area, but these designations reflect predominant character of those areas. This is a zoomed-in view of the future land use map for the study area and its surroundings. Most of the study area is designated as residential, as you can see. The future built form map works together with the future land use map and describes how development and land use fit together to create unique place types. Within the study area, the predominant place type is urban general. Urban general reflects the typical land development pattern found in Greensboro during the post-World War II period. There are also some small areas anticipated to have industrial or commercial built form, and areas anticipated to remain as reserves. Characteristics of the urban general place type include car-oriented single-family homes and shopping centers, and new growth in this area will be focused predominantly in activity centers. Opportunities for creating walkable mixed-use development will focus on larger sites, and expanding access from surrounding neighborhoods and increasing development along existing commercial corridors will strengthen transit service and other transportation options for the area. Future built form also designates areas as being within an activity center at the neighborhood, district, or regional scale, or within one of several types of corridor. GSO 2040 is our policy guide. It's what we as a community want Greensboro to become over the next 20 years or more. But the here and now and near-term changes to land use are governed by the Land Development Ordinance, or LDO. And that leads us to current conditions, which I believe Lee Brown will take the mic from here.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. I think it needs to be restated right away that this is the start of a process. This is not the presentation of a plan to you. This is the opening forum in which we get to hear from you, and that's a really critical issue. What Jeff has been using his radio voice to explain is where planners see the community and how we approach a planning process. But those maps are often misunderstood by the community. And what we like to do at this stage is bring to you some introductory elements that help generate conversations about your community. So that's where we'll start. Jeff, you want to go to the first slide. Population change over the last few years. The interesting graphic here represents in the lighter green growth of population in the Fleming Road study area. But note that the first bar, where the Fleming area population was 3,589 people in the year 2000, we jumped 20 years to the second bar of 4,424, and then only 1 year jump to the third bar. So even though it looks like there's a gradual shift over that period of time, in fact, the shift is rather dramatic in that the first 20 years created a 23% increase in population. The next 1 year, another 11% jump in the population. So when you compare that to the city as a whole, The city is growing in that same period, and it looks similar in its increases, but the city was growing at about 11.5% increase during that 20-year first period, and then 9.5%. So actually Fleming Road's percentage increase is faster than the city as a whole. Jeff. Another issue is occupancy. Clearly, the Fleming Road area has a significant amount of owner-occupied housing. 61% of those who live there are in owner-occupied. The community as a whole, city as a whole, has a smaller proportion of owner-occupied and a slightly larger proportion of rental-occupied. The vacancy, the 6% vacancy, is a snapshot indicator. It doesn't mean that it has been vacant over a long period of time. It just, at the time that the survey was done, 6% of housing was vacant in the Fleming Road study area. Again, the city as a whole is in the lighter green, and the Fleming Road area is in the darker green bar. And the graphic represents, at the lower few bars, the lower income groupings. And you can see that the Fleming Road area has fewer, as a percentage of its population, in the lower income below 35,000. In the middle income and upper income, there's higher percentages of middle and upper income households in the Fleming Road area as compared to the city as a whole. Fleming Road area, study area, median household income is $67,093 a year, and the city as a whole is $49,993. Median home value in the Fleming Road area is higher than the median home value of the city as a whole, $235,000 compared to $191,000. And the mix of the community is a higher proportion of white residents in the Fleming Road area at 69%, slightly less diversity than the city as a whole, which has 44% white, 42% black, and a mix of other ethnicities. Jeff? We're zooming back to another map, which isn't always easy to read when you first see it. And it's, again, the existing land use in the study area. The study area has a boundary line that's black. And Jeff, maybe you can put your cursor along the edge. And we're showing both within the land uses within the study area and those of the communities immediately adjacent to it. But again, the majority of the Fleming Road existing residential properties are residential. The orange color is a slightly higher density, meaning the multifamily uses are in the orange, and the lemon yellow, if you will, is single family, which is the predominant land use within the area. This map also shows all of the buildings in a darker color. So you see the spots within the yellow are actually homes that are in single family residential areas. This map shows the existing greenways that are within or connect the Fleming Road area to surrounding properties. So the connector is the one that's shown in the sort of dashed light yellow. The greenway in the what is that? I guess it's lime yellow, lime green, and the trail in that slightly yellow color towards the northern end of the study area. In addition to the greenways shown on the previous map, we're now showing from the bike plan, that the citywide bike plan, this is zooming into the Fleming Road study area. It shows Fleming Road itself on the south of Bryant Boulevard in that fuchsia color, which was a recommendation in the bike plan to have lane narrowing and road diet, which is a term that planners use to talk about when the number of lanes are physically reduced from in this case from 5 down to 4. So these are recommendations for the bike plan to accommodate greater and safer use of the existing roadways for those on using their bikes. More data, not necessarily telling us more, is the traffic counts that were taken most recently. And clearly Bryant Boulevard having the highest traffic count, 39 to 41,000 cars a day. Fleming Road itself, 6,200 at the southern entry into the study area, 10,500 at the northern end of the study area before approaching the interstate. So again, to the notion of where are we in this process? And it's always difficult to start the momentum of a planning process to get folks interested and engaged, and to do that without presenting what seems to be a sort of fait accompli. You've already made the study and you're already telling us what's going to happen. Well, in actuality, we need to hear from a few members of the community first to get our hearing ready, our ears ready to what the community is interested in talking about, so that we can pose the right questions on a meeting like this. So early on, there was a stakeholder set of interviews of folks that were recommended by city council members to ask some questions, to hear what the community is saying. That helps formulate the kinds of approach and the kinds of questions that we're going to be asking you tonight. Which is where we turn now to what do we want to hear from you? And I think that that's the point that I'm shifting back over.
Yes, I will take it from here, Lee.
Francie, thanks.
Thank you. Jeff, if I can, I think I can just take over screen share. Yes. Right. So yeah, now we'd like to hear from you. This is going to be the portion where we do that interactive polling exercise that Russ mentioned at the top. So if I can ask everyone to please take out your smartphone, cell phone, or you could actually do this activity on your computer as well if you're using that. I'll talk you through it. We're going to go to www.menti.com. That's spelled MENTI.com. And then there should
Jeff,
be
can you go back one slide?
Oh, I'm sharing now. You're right. Thanks, Lee. Here's the instructions. If everyone can see that. There's also a QR code. So if you want to just take your phone and use the camera function on your phone, I think most of them do this now, where you hover over the QR code and it'll pop up a link for you there.
Menti.com.
And you should see a screen that has a box, and you will enter this code that's on my screen. I'll read it now: 31675944. I will give everyone a minute or so to get there. And as a reminder, that's www.menti.com. And the code is 31675944.
Which is shown at the top of the screen.
Which is also shown at the top of the screen and will continue to be at the top of the screen as I advance to our first question here. So no worries if you're not totally logged in yet. We'll just get started and let folks trickle in and start answering our first question, which is, please tell us your connection to the Fleming Road area. You can select all that apply here. So please tell us if you are a homeowner, a residential tenant, i.e. a renter, a residential landlord, a commercial landlord, a business owner or manager of a store local to this area, representative of a faith community, estate trust, etc., or an other category. And you can feel free to drop in the chat what that other thing is if you feel moved to do so. Also, I should say, if you aren't getting this to work on your phone or you don't have the capability to do that right now, there's no worries. That we're still documenting that you're here with us during this meeting, and you're not missing out on anything crucial by not being able to participate in the poll. But I'm seeing that 28 of you have already responded, so that's great. I think that's a large majority of who's attending tonight. So I will move on to our next question. And just to state clearly for everyone, homeowners are clearly the majority of our participants tonight. There's 26 who responded that they are homeowners, and we have 3 in that other category. So our next question, so if you are a resident, please indicate how long you've lived in the Fleming Road area. And our options here are less than 2 years. Oh, you all are getting it. And now my answer choices went away. Less than 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, 11 to 20, or over 20 years. And then not applicable for those of you who don't live in the area. And so far, we are seeing a lot of longtime residents, at least 10 who have lived here over 20 years. Also a large number in the 3 to 5 year category. We have 7 folks who've lived here between 3 and 5 years. And we've had 30 people respond now. So this gives us kind of an interesting insight into the mix of time periods that y'all have lived in this area. We'd also like to know, how did you find out about this meeting? If that was via the postcard mailing we sent to all households in the study area, via Nextdoor, Facebook, email, just word of mouth, whether that was from a city staff person contacting you or from your neighbors or friends. Looks like the postcard mailing got out a lot of you, which is great. Also some with word of mouth, email, Nextdoor. Good, we're glad that the mail functioned the way it needs to function and that reached all of you. Okay. So now we want you to get into your brainstorming visioning mode. Just a few questions, and then we're going to move on to breakout groups where you'll have a chance to discuss a lot of this in more detail, but this is kind of to just get the brain juices flowing. Please indicate what are 3 words you'd use to describe the Fleming Road area today. And you should have an option to write 3 words in 3 separate boxes. And then what this is going to show us is a word cloud that populates with the most popular words will show larger and unique words will be smaller. Okay, busy is the largest word right now that I'm seeing. Suburbia, community, peaceful, growing, crowded, losing character is an interesting one. Stoplight dysfunction, comfortable, peaceful, accessible, convenient, walkable, friendly. Sorry if I'm repeating myself here, but these are moving quickly. Speedy, family, not overcrowded, natural. These are some great adjectives. Shrinking. So we have growing and shrinking. You can see that there's different perspectives here. Safe, nice, neighborhood, family oriented. Great. A couple more coming in. So I think still the largest word I'm seeing is busy and growing. Community, convenient, peaceful, friendly. Those are all popular entries. So next, we'd like to hear what are 3 words you would hope to describe the Fleming Road area in the future. And you can think about the next 2 to 3 years, 5 years and beyond. You can dream big and think about the next 10 to 20 years. But this is going to help us understand what we all want to be the vision here in Fleming Road. Okay, the answers are coming in. I see peaceful, quiet, no more expansion, stay the same, safe, bike friendly, attractive. I'm getting dizzy here. Sorry if you all are too. No multifamily, remain natural, green areas, less traffic, single family, parks, mixed use, welcoming, vibrant, walkable, safe, peaceful, quiet. Is that a stop sign? I didn't know. I guess you could enter an emoji, which is a new thing I just learned about this tool. Thank you. But I think that's a stop sign. Bike friendly, slower, happy, greenway. Legacy. That's interesting. Whoever said legacy, we might want to hear about that more in the breakout rooms. Yeah, a lot of different phrases here. Keep slower. I think I got a lot of these. Reasonable growth is one here. Convenient.
You got 28.
All right. Please think about what your favorite place in the Fleming Road area is. So maybe if you had guests from out of town and you wanted to show them something in your neighborhood, where would you take them? Greenway. 2, 3 for Greenway right away. Quiet housing community, my home, sure. Everyone's writing Greenway, how to access the bypass. Backyard. Are there any like community spaces or shops or restaurants or, the Greenways? Let's see, can I scroll here? Guilford College, St. Paul's, Community Pond. Nothing in this area. Okay, that's a very appropriate answer. We want to dive into that more and hear about if there should be anything more. Access to roadways, pond in Lakemont. Greenway needs bridge at Fleming Terrace section. Love the trees, quiet and safe. My house. Question mark. I don't know if that's a question for us, which you can ask us in the breakout rooms, or if you're not sure, which is also fine. Home. We love it how it is, all the trees. It's great. Another vote for home. All right, I have 26 responses here. I think I'll head to the next question. This is our last question for the polling before the breakout rooms. What main topic would you like this plan to address? You heard a little bit in our current conditions and context for the plan about some things we've looked at already. But is there any other main issue area, concern, opportunity, some kind of topic that you hope this planning process looks into? Keeping the area natural and more parks and communal spaces. Thanks. Decrease traffic, staying livable, slow the growth. What specifically is being planned? Single family, which the answer to that is we don't know yet. That's why we want to talk to all of you and hear from you. Single family versus multifamily residential zoning. Create park and natural reserves. Do not tear down treed areas. Do not want Fleming to become a new garden road. Single family homes, preserve character, property value, excess traffic, stoplight timing, median on Fleming Road, and sound barriers for Bryan Boulevard. Traffic flow and parks in the area, keep Fleming Road residential, single family, quality of development, not strip malls, no commercial, all single family, pedestrian sidewalks, park and playground, expected growth, changes to pre-existing communities, limiting business expansion, limit commercial expansion, traffic control, traffic flow, expected growth, changes to pre-existing communities, keep area residential, limit multifamily and commercial real estate, preserve and extend green spaces with bike and walk access, be wary of strip mall developments. These are great. This is a nice variety of answers here that we can explore more in our breakout discussions. Anyone else? I'm at 26 responses. The integrity of the wetlands. Dog park. Okay. Well, thank you all for participating in that activity. I hope it was kind of fun. I'll stop sharing my screen now, and we are going to transition over to our breakout groups. Jeff, I don't know if you need more time on that. I'll introduce it for a minute, but give you a second to get organized with the breakout groups. I think we'll have 3, is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and you'll just be randomly placed into these. Me, Lee, and Carrie Hobson will be facilitating these groups. We are going to ask, we'll be recording each session. So a reminder to those facilitators to please hit record when you get into your breakout group. We will be taking notes on a series of questions we're going to ask all of you. And then we're also going to ask one person in each group. So one of you as a participant to be our report back person. We're going to do these breakout groups for about 20 minutes, I think, right, Jeff?
Yep.
And then we're going to come back into this main room as a whole group, and one person from each group will go around and just briefly summarize kind of the main top 3 to 5 points with everyone else, so we can all learn about what was discussed. And then we'll wrap up and discuss next steps, and we may even end this meeting a bit early.
Okay, we're going to go real quickly through our breakout groups and try to capture the top 3 to 5 issues that we saw from each group. So let's start with, I believe it was Lee in breakout group 1. Lee, if you'll walk us through your top 3 to 5 items in what do you see as current concerns in the area? Let me get to screen share. That one.
Or Lee may want to share his screen. if he's
Oh,
got-
okay. Oh, we'll
right.
do it that way?
That's what my group did. I won't speak
Okay.
for Lee.
Okay.
But Lee's muted, so he might be trying to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
We
wanted
got
to, Lee, I just wanted to add one more thing. The airplane noise, it's quite bad across Fleming. I know the airplanes are supposed to follow a specific pattern, and when they absolutely do not constantly, and it's gotten worse over the last couple of years, several years. The planes are flying more and more over the houses rather than over towards Brian.
Got it. So we may not have made it all the way through the questions, Francie, but we've got a number of comments. The overall that I heard, and my folks may want to jump in on this, but there is a great enjoyment of the character of the community, particularly the sort of countryside feel, and the threats that are of a concern to most folks are first the issues that might be related to the speed of traffic on Fleming itself, and the concerns about the potential for growth, and particularly more dense growth other than single family filling out potentially. If the undeveloped properties have to be developed, there's a desire to have them as much as possible to continue along the pattern of single family growth. How about group number 2?
I think that's Francie.
At my group, okay. Lee, I'll just say that our group had similar sentiments, but I'm going to share my screen, and Betsy.
So I think,
Thank you, volunteered for sharing. So here you go, Betsy.
sure. I think current concerns, the highlights you mentioned, I think we're concerned about the traffic, the litter, losing the character of the neighborhood if there's a lot of development, various intersections that are open now that we would not like to see developed with McDonald's or gas stations. And also, of course, as somebody mentioned, the airport came up. And with more going on at the airport, more concerns about what that's going to do to the neighborhood. So those were some of the concerns. The strengths, some of the things I jotted down. Are we going through everything, or you want to do it?
Am I muted?
No, you're on.
That's up to you. We've got time if you want to go through, but
I'll just say the strengths that we saw. Someone mentioned, many people mentioned the Greenway, and somebody said they moved here for that, and that the neighborhoods are pleasant to walk through. They're tree lined, they're quiet, there's varied architecture, and that there's a lot around us that makes life here very convenient, and that you know, we have access to things, not only commercial, but historic things. And somebody talked about that idea of legacy, that we have some beautiful properties, Guilford College, and some of the buildings around there that have a lot of history to them, and that we should take care of them, and that we benefit by them being close to us, but not in the middle of us. And some of the things we said were missing, we couldn't think of too much, but the idea of a dog park, and just, you know, that we have what we need around us. So that was all we came up with for that. And I'll just jump to the fact that someone mentioned Ballinger property, at where Ballinger, Fleming, and New Garden come together, that there seems to be some activity and things going on there that we should be watching because it would impact us. We would prefer single family. And I brought up the issue of the bypass highway. I didn't really know if that was relevant to this discussion or not. It seemed to not be, so don't have to say anything more about that. I guess that's it.
Great job. Thank you, Betsy.
Sure.
Okay, I had group 3, and I believe Carol is going to, let's see, so I can share my screen. I believe Carol is going to give our update, and here we go. Can you see it, Carol?
Yes, I just had to unmute.
Okay.
We had a great group that all of us have been here for several years, and we are concerned a lot about future land uses and any changes that may occur on the corridor. We like the residential feel of the Fleming Road corridor and want to keep it that way. It's a safe area, and we are concerned about crime in the area. There's not a lot, but there are a lot of issues with traffic control and the racing cars down Bryan and speeding on Fleming Road, all around traffic issues that GPD would need to help us with better enforcement. And there may be some construction techniques that could make things a little better, traffic calming or something. The cross of the Greenway from the sidewalk of Fleming Road over to Bledsoe Drive is extremely dangerous. It's at the bottom of 2 hills, and there's no traffic control, and that's a huge concern for all of us. Somebody will get hit at some point there, and we love the Greenway, but we're very concerned about access and that road crossing. Wanted to look more closely at our roadway design on Fleming again to keep speeds down and to do something about that crossing. Sidewalks are not complete on Fleming, and they're utilized quite a bit, especially because of the Greenway, but also going up to Food Line for shopping, and they just come to an abrupt stop, and we'd like to see those completed. Once there was a piece of property that the city had pegged for a park in our area, and that fell through and they sold it. The closest park, I guess, is Leonard Recreation Center or Carolyn Allen on Horsepen Creek, and we'd like to have a park. And then the concerns over the frontage lots on Fleming, what will happen with those? That's what started New Garden and Horsepen Creek Road. Do those people want to remain living on Fleming Road, or will they be looking to, sell to developers? And we like the residential feel and character of Fleming Road and want to keep it that way. Our strengths is our residential character. I even talked about how multiple neighborhoods, we walk in each other's neighborhoods, and all the neighborhoods have respect for one another. We want limited mixed-use commercial. We realize that there's going to be a demand for that at Lewiston Road still, and maybe even that PUD up at Isaacson Road. No industrial, is very clear, no industrial comment in the Fleming Road corridor. There's enough over at the airport, and we're concerned about water quality issues. We do have a lot of environmental concerns and feel like we need to protect our water resources, and Horsepen Creek is our drinking resource creek. We want to preserve, like I said, our community interaction between the neighborhoods, within our neighborhoods. And we also have some natural areas along the corridor that we want to preserve our trees and our natural areas and green space. And so what's missing, we need the sidewalks completed. There's a lot of pedestrian movement on the corridor. We'd like to look at some noise barriers because we're tired of the traffic noise from Bryan Boulevard. Concerns moving forward and possible threats, land use changes and developers. We're afraid of what and concerned what type of land use changes may be proposed here. And we want appropriate land uses at appropriate places. We're concerned about more traffic being generated, decreasing property values if as changes occur on the corridor. And we're also concerned, of course, about the increase in crime, which is citywide. Specific sites to focus on were some of the natural woodland areas that are by the Bryan Boulevard corridor, the NCDOT properties and other properties. There are some large lots, 3 acres minimum on Fleming Road across from the intersection of Brooks Lane. And they're single family residential now, but they could change, and want to look and focus on those to see what would be appropriate land uses. And we really want to see the intersection or the crossing on Fleming at the Greenway, safety improvements, a better bridge or something that's safer for the individuals using the Greenway. It's heavily used Greenway.
All right, thank you, Carol.
Okay,
you.
great. Let's turn things over to Russ Clegg in breakout group 4. Russ?
He might be doing an in-person facilitation, and they might not come back to our virtual room now.
Russ, are you there?
We
Can
can
you
give
hear
him
us?
a minute. If he doesn't come back, I'll just remind everyone that we'll be typing up a full meeting summary from tonight, and we'll post that on the website. So we'll get Russ's notes, and we'll be sure to learn what his group had to say.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess moving on through the agenda. Let me get the right window open. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone have general questions that they want to bring to the group now that we're all back in one place? I think I see a hand raised. Timothy, you can unmute yourself.
What are the plans that the city has identified already for this area that are pretty much we're going to move ahead in these particular steps? What's already the plans for this area? Well, I mean, what's on the table already?
Jeff, or did someone from the city want to answer?
As far as specifically for this area, there has not been any specific planning for the Fleming Road area. There are some transportation projects and proposals in the various transportation plans that have been adopted. Those will be, factored in as we go along. But those are, they're not a direct component of this process. And we can certainly use this process as a way of providing further input into those projects.
What can you speak to the transportation plans that are on the table right now, even though they may not, come about right away? What is being planned transportation wise, since it's all part of this, it's going to have a bearing on it.
Let's see. I know that Denise Conway is on the call with us. Denise, would you be able to offer any detailed or more specific response?
Okay, let me see. It's part of our CPT. We've got several things outlined. Again, many of these are not funded. No plans have been developed, but these are just ideas, things that we would like to do.
This is Sue. Can you define CPT for the folks? I'm sure they're not familiar with
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. Comprehensive transportation plan. Like at the intersection of Fleming and Lewiston, there are plans to do turn lanes there at that intersection. I know there's also plans along Fleming between Isaacson and Pleasant Ridge to do some enhancements like adding turn lanes, adding sidewalks. I know that there was someone mentioned the sidewalk just sort of ending abruptly there along Fleming. That was a separate project, but a future project would continue that all the way out to Pleasant Ridge. Trying to think of others out in this area.
The biggest one is clearly the completion of the interstate ring around the entire city, which has an impact on all of the neighborhoods. But as that does get completed, either there's shifts in traffic to the ring itself or accessing it, right? So there's potential interchanges with the interstate.
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. That project too, the loop is a NCDOT project and they are anticipating or hoping to have that completed, the whole loop around the city completed by the end of this year, I think is the last update that I had received.
Denise?
Yeah.
This is Carol Carter. In our discussion in our group, the future interchange with Fleming Road was mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of the plan still, or is it not part of it?
It's still in the plan. It's not part of like the loop construction, but it is in our long range. Yes, it's still in there.
Not funded, but long range. Thank
Correct.
you.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what that is?
So we've got a plan to basically extend Fleming at the intersection of Isaacson, extend it north to eventually to cross over the loop and then connect over to Lewiston. And then there's also plans to create an interchange there at this new road extension at the loop. But these, I think that's part of our 2045, the construction of that interchange is part of the 2045 plan. So again, and none of this has been designed, there's no funding, but this is part of a plan, I guess, a study or plan that was done years ago that said that this connection was needed.
And it's part of the comprehensive plan for the community as a whole, which speaks to the issue of generalized land uses. And you saw those in those maps early on. They may not have made sense, but the yellow, that is the designation of essentially low density residential, which covers the majority of that map, particular for the Fleming Road area, is saying that the overall picture of the comprehensive plan is to seek residential uses as the primary use of the area. And that connects also to the transportation plans that say that we need to have roads that serve those communities. Off the top of my head, and maybe Jeff, you can do this, what about the built form plan? Does that lead us to believe it's largely as it is with the potential for what is there a node at the northern end?
There is a node anticipated at the future proposed interchange at the intersection where the Fleming Lewiston connector would intersect with the urban loop, or I-840, as was raised in the breakout group that I was in. That interchange project and the Fleming Lewiston connector road project are not currently funded projects. They are in far out years, probably beyond 2035 is when they would actually become funded projects, moving into the process of design. Right now, the connector project is not scoring very high in the prioritization process. It's not receiving enough points to make it into the funding process. So there just isn't the purpose and need and the level of benefit that would be gained from that expenditure on a facility like that.
I see Renee's hand has been raised.
Hello, everybody. I'm Renee Sigmund with the police department. I just wanted to let you know that I've heard the concerns I know in my breakout group and certainly as a whole in particular, and I've been writing down notes, the speeding on Bryan Boulevard and certainly Fleming as well. Just wanted to let you know what the police department has been doing. We have gotten some very specific complaints. For example, the 45-mile-an-hour speed zones around Fleming and Thornblade, forgive me, Fleming between Beachmont and Crystal Lake. We've been working those as of late. And we've also been working some areas in the Old Oak Ridge Road, 5800 block, Cardinal Ridge Drive area as well. And certainly we've gotten many complaints, even though this is slightly outside of the Fleming area, but on I-840. We consistently have been getting some speeding complaints there, and we've been working a number of speed enforcement operations there in the areas that are inside the city, and certainly sharing that information with the Sheriff's Department and Highway Patrol for the areas that we cannot go into. But I will say this, that I've heard the concerns, I've heard the questions, and certainly we will reach out to our GDOT contacts as well. In particular about the traffic lights at Fleming and Bryan Boulevard, and see if we can share any insight or help them come up with some ideas. And I will put my email address in the chat box. And if someone has some specific police department complaints, specific traffic issues, things like that, they can feel free to email me.
Thank you for that. I see one more hand raised from Valerie, and then we're coming up against our meeting end time. Valerie, do you want to take yourself off mute to ask a question?
Thank you so much, Renee and Francie. I'm really encouraged to hear, Renee, that you'll provide your email address and that there are actions underway. In our group, there was a lot of discussion, and I think everybody in this area recognizes extreme speeding on Fleming, and particularly access to the greenway is impacted. There is no stoplight or proper marking of how it's a state law to stop when someone's in the pedestrian crossing, and people actually speed up and try to hit you whenever you're attempting to walk across to get on the greenway. So a moment of zen turns to a moment of fear. And I'm just concerned that there will be serious accident. I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been already. So thank you.
And there's actually one more question in chat that I don't think we've addressed. Donna asked, have any impact studies occurred concerning the new Boom supersonic facility coming our way?
I can answer that. This is Sue Schwartz, the planning director. There have not been any environmental studies that I know of. If there are, we'll do our best to make them available. The Boom supersonic project is on airport property, and the city does not have jurisdiction over that development. So we will do what we can. Although I have said I believe she's the COO of Boom Supersonic, who basically gave a video of the sound or not, or lack thereof, because they don't go for the supersonic speed. They cannot accelerate until over the ocean. So they take off, and one of the reasons why they located in Greensboro is because, if believe it or not, in the air, taking off at PTI, it only takes 30 minutes to get to the Atlantic, and then they can achieve that. They can achieve the speed levels that make them supersonic. So no, we don't have any direct information. We'll be glad to share anything that we do get in the future.
Thank you for that, Sue. Jeff, do you want to move on to our next couple slides, and then we'll close out this meeting? Thank you all again for participating.
Let me just give one more opportunity to see if Russ's group has the ability to report out quickly. Russ, are you there? Well, maybe they lost internet connection. All right. So, moving on, just a reminder. Okay, actually, this is not my slide. Whose slide is this?
Oh, sure, I can speak to this. Yeah, sure. So this is the comment map that I think we mentioned at the top. Hopefully some of you have seen this. There's a QR code there that you can use to easily access this website. I also dropped it in the chat a minute ago. So if you think of things after this meeting or on the next time you're driving along the corridor or weeks from now, we'll keep this map open. It's here for your continued participation and ideas that we'll incorporate throughout the process. And if you have friends or neighbors who you didn't see at this meeting and you think they want to participate, this map's a great way to do so, and you can share that with them. Next slide. We have most of your emails from registering for this Zoom meeting, and there's also an opportunity to subscribe for email updates on that comment map website. So check your email. We'll keep you informed of any project announcements there, and we'll also be releasing a poll activity, a quick poll kind of survey that we'll send out to everyone. That's going to inform our next steps as well. Please continue to stay engaged via the website or by contacting us. Jeff's information is going to be on the final slide after this one. As I said, spread the word to any friends or organizations that weren't here today. Our project team is going to be taking all of this input and further analysis, and we'll prepare some draft goals and objectives. And then our next meeting will focus on sharing and getting feedback on those goals and objectives for the area. And we hope to do that in person if it's possible to do so. Thank you again. Thanks everyone for coming out and joining us tonight. There's Jeff's contact information and another QR code for you for the main project website.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Everyone have
We'll
a great
see you
evening.
again soon.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Good,
everyone.
good.